Our new sponsor, Better, is a fast growing daily fantasy sports app. Sign up today with promo code Playbook to receive two $100 no sweat tokens for a limited time only. Welcome to another episode of the NBA Quick Hang, where I just come in here, give you some of my thoughts quickly. I haven't been able to podcast in a while, so I wanted to touch on the NBA playoffs, before they end. So let's get right into it, starting with the Knicks versus Cavs, which last night we saw the Cavs blow a 22-point lead, where it seemed like, for the majority of the game, they had it in the bag. On offense, Knicks defense wasn't giving too much problems to what the Cavs wanted to do, as they faced Detroit in previous rounds. The Cavs also faced the Raptors in previous rounds, which have, staunch defenses. I would argue though that the Knicks, in that 22-point comeback, they figured out their stuff on defense. They do have premier defenders as well, especially on the wing, so they should be able to make some havoc happen for Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, as we saw in that 22-point comeback. So moving throughout this series, I like to see maybe the Knicks do that a little more often. They also have Josh Hart as well, who's a very versatile defender. It's really Brunson who's the weak point there, but if he's giving you what he gave you last night in the fourth quarter on offense, you can live with that, and you can live with your OG, your Mikal Bridges, your Josh Hart's picking up the slack on the defensive end for Brunson and Cat as well. So moving forward, the Knicks crowd is a tough place to play in as well. The Cavs, I don't know, would have experienced much of that before. We have that quote from the last time these two teams played in the playoffs of Jared Allen being like the lights were too bright. So I want to see moving forward if the lights stay too bright for the Cavs in this series, or if they're able to find their rhythm again and be able to play basketball, play the offense that we know that they can play. It's going to be a tough one for James Harden, I think, especially with those type of lengthy, strong defenders. And if they keep putting him in actions on the defensive end, they're going to have to figure out a way to kind of hide him better than they did in this 22-point collapse. That's for sure. And moving on to the Thunder and Spurs, where we saw the Spurs hand the Thunder their first loss of the playoffs in a thrilling double OT game. Lot to make of this one, where we saw the Spurs give OKC their first loss. We saw Wemby emerge as a perennial star in this league and looking to be one of the faces of the league for years and years and years to come, with the type of performances he's been putting in the playoffs when it matters the most. Some things I'd like to see from the Thunder though going into game two. I am recording this before game two happens, so maybe some of these things change. But going into game two, one of the things I'd like to see happen, there was a lot of discourse with the Caruso guarding Wembanyama, which I'm actually not too opposed of. I think it just has to come in certain situations. The Spurs do a good job of getting Wemby when they see this type of mismatch, to getting Wemby low, deep position, and they play off that very well. So I think moving forward, I think when you have Caruso guard Wemby on the perimeter, I think that's great. I think having a smaller guy to like muck up his handles, to muck up some of those actions there isn't a bad thing. I think that's something that they can continue to going with. But it's just once Wemby gets into that mid block area and below that, I think that's when you need to have a check. You need to have some more size on him that really kind of gives him a different type of look. Or if you're gonna stay small, that double has to come with length or with some aggression to make Wembanyama make some difficult decisions out of that. And I'm sure, the Thunder being one of the greatest defensive teams that we've seen in recent years, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to implement this. And then on the offensive end, I think for the Thunder as well, they just got to get their other guys going. Caruso had a good one, but it was one of Shea's least efficient games. We didn't get much from AJ. Jalen was good, which was nice to see in his first game back from his hamstring. But there was moments though, even though he had 26 points or whatever, and something like that, 26 points, and he scored the ball well. There were points in the game where I felt like he was still being a little rushed, which I think was just coming back from that injury, where he was doing things a little bit too quickly. A lot of adrenaline must have been pumping through him, getting the first playoff game in weeks for him. So I feel like some of that was from just like coming back so quickly and wanting to show himself and prove himself. But I think, slowing down the game a little bit for him as the series progresses will be beneficial for the Thunder in the long term. We'll get our AJ game. Caruso won't shoot like that again, but Caruso will be providing the other things on the court, like I said, on the defensive end, where I think he's a real perimeter leader along with Cason Wallace there. And then for the Spurs, I think they just got to keep doing what they're doing. You got to keep getting Wemby those deep positions when he does get those mismatches, when you do see a smaller guy on him, to really Shea sometimes end up on him as well. Shea has length, but he's not he doesn't do much to Wemby when he's below the block there. So just finding ways to continue getting Wemby in those advantageous situations, I think will be good. Giving quick outlets for him because we know the doubles are going to be coming from. So giving him quick outlets for him to feed off of, I think will be beneficial for them moving forward as well. But one thing I am really curious to see how this gets implemented is when Fox has to come back, because Fox was out for game one. I think that improves the Spurs defense. It takes out one of their weaker defenders that Shea would have a chance of maybe getting in a switch or something like that to pick on, which I think we missed that in game one, which added to like maybe some of the tougher baskets that OKC had to get. I think OKC also did miss a lot of like easy ones, but just not having Fox out there in general, I think does improve the Spurs defense. So I like to see when Fox comes back, if he comes back. At this point, I'm not too sure if he's going to play game two or not. But if he comes back at some point in this series, I'd like to see if they're able to exploit him being on, if the Thunder are able to exploit Fox being on the court on the defensive end in a similar type of way that the Knicks exploited James Harden on the defensive end. I think there's things that you can do there when you have two really strong defenders with Harper, which is crazy to say he's a rookie, and Stephon Castle, another really good guard defender who primarily takes the objective of guarding Shea, has done a terrific job on him. I think throughout the entire season, in total, he's one of the best defenders on Shea, and he's made life continually hard for Shea to get his buckets in an easy, efficient fashion, which we're used to seeing. So when Fox comes back, I like to see how that impacts things as well. It'll be a boost for their offense, but I think on the defensive end, which it'll take a little bit away, which I think matters more at this stage in the playoffs. So that'll be one to continue to monitor. And I guess quickly before I get out of here, Thunder and Nuggets. These are two teams I'm really curious about how they're going to approach their offseason and how they're going to improve themselves. These are two teams that they're in conference finals multiple times. The Nuggets won a championship about 3 years ago. So, and they're still looked at as one of these elite teams. They still want to be an elite team. They still project as that. So, going into this offseason, these are just two teams that I really want to see. I want to see how they're going to manage moving forward. And when I do a podcast, this is something that will be elaborated on for sure. But that, I think, will do it for today. It's just a quick hang. Just wanted to get some playoff thoughts out quickly. Thank y'all for hanging with me. Peace.